Yeah, I agree with you that there. But right now, it looks like we are in a bit of a stall phase there. Might be looking at, um, yeah, I think when it comes to that first ban, you're right. They could either just deny the scarf because you don't really want to give one of them over if one of them's going to be left on the fold, because that does mean that we just know how strong Celeste and Scarf are that, in the late game, and just how well they ramp up to that. So it is putting yourself at a bit of a disadvantage to do so. However, do you think the Idris ban coming through? I was going to say, do you think there's certain heroes that could really get on top of those casters, those mages, and Idris would be one of them?
Yeah, it's just another strong pick that has been first picked before, so it makes sense to ban it away on B side if you just don't want to play against it. Obviously, that leaves Grace open, and so Bren Esports just going to first pick Grace. And once again, very similar to the previous games, we're seeing Lance picked and Grace picked as the two captains that both teams want. This could be a weapon Lance, could be a captain. I reckon we'll find out in the last pick. We won't really find out in the next pick. This could be a glaive ban, would make a little bit of sense. Or they can obviously pick their own scarf. So Blackfeather would also make a lot of sense for Infamous to ban, and they're going to ban Blackfeather. So if Bren don't ban Scarf, it's almost certainly going to be picked. And they do obviously return with the Scarf ban to make sure no mages are on the fold. Yeah, Bren really don't want to play against these mages. What do you expect for Infamous' second pick here?
It's hard to say here. I mean, we could be looking at a Slave coming through. And I would like to see a Sky be on the fold again, because we saw in that first match there between Nebulae and Impunity. And I actually really enjoyed watching that, as always. And I don't think it's a bad pick at all. But maybe going against Lance, if he's able to lock you down, and that Glaive, it's a bit dangerous, but they're going to risk it.
Yeah, they're going to go for the Sky, and they're going to see a Petal. We still don't know what this is going to be. We've seen Weapon Sky, we've seen Crystal Sky, we've seen Weapon Petal, we've seen Crystal Petal. So there's a lot of flexibility from Bren Esports' comp here. I do wonder if I'm hoping it's Weapon Petal. I do wonder how well Bren have practiced it, because obviously very recently it was shown in North America, then Europe copied it, and now SEA is seeming like they want to copy it as well. If in doubt, just copy what you see other teams do and play it well. I think what Infamous have done is they've lost a lot of their flexibility, because they don't want to go double weapon with a weapon Lance and a weapon Glaive, now picking up a captain. So they kind of have to put Lance into captain, despite the fact he'd be a great weapon power pick against both heroes. So in fact, I would hope to see a weapon Lance, because it does really, really well against Petal and well against Sky, and then a Roam Glaive, and then they've got a CP hero left. CP laner, they could go Samuel, still left open. I guess CP lane Kestrel is a possibility, but there aren't that many Crystal Pack heroes left, with Scarf and Celeste all being off the fold. So we might be seeing something very off meta from Infamous if they do not decide to go for something like Samuel.
Yeah, I do think a hero such as Samuel would be good. They just need that bit of range on their team right now, otherwise they're running melee team comp, and I'm not sure how well that would work out against the likes of Petal and Sky, who can really keep their range from you and just dance around you a lot of the time. You've got Surrey Strike on Sky. Once they get target lock, you've got the trampoline on Petal, and even Grace. I mean, it's not so much that they can jump around you, but with that benediction, they're definitely going to be jumping onto you, and it's kind of engaged. They're going to be looking for. In this case, that I do think the blue side has a very good team comp up for them, and really, in reply to that, I would be looking at some kind of range.
I think that CP Gwen could be a nice pocket pick for Infamous at this point, because it's not a very common pick, but it could work really well to try and poke out. It will destroy all the minions, even if it's a CP Petal. CP Gwen will work really well against that, and they're going to go for the lane Adagio, so that's not as off meta as they could have gone, but Adagio is actually a really good pick. It will work well with the Glaive and the Lance. There's a lot of dive, and so they need to get Arcane Fire on as much. Get Arcane Fire on as many heroes as possible, so that Adagio can deal loads of damage. And against this composition, I don't expect a Crystal Power Petal, mainly because Adagio will just burn the minions really easily. And so I think Weapon Petal and CP Sky could work really well against this Adagio.
Yeah, I do think that could Sorry, excuse me. I do think that could be the case, but really looking at the strengths between Weapon Pedal and CP Sky, Weapon Pedal is just such a off meta pick, whereas Weapon Sky it isn't currently meta, but it can still fit in and has been used a lot more. And it goes back to that thing you said at the start of the draft, whether the team has been practicing it enough. Because it's definitely strange to see Sky be picked, and straight after we saw the pedal lock in. So
Yeah,
it has to show they have some confidence there.
Yeah, they must have this composition in mind. It must be a comp that they've practiced. They must think, okay, these two heroes work really well together. And I think the Weapon Sky could work well against Glaive when he tries to reposition you. Then you can just you can try and dance around Sui Strike out of the poor afterburn position and try and make sure you stay at range to Glaive. I still think though that CP Sky would be a lot better. It would be much easier to poke, and it would be a lot easier for you to deal out damage as well as a Weapon Petal, who I think just do so much better than Crystal Power, because Lance will destroy your Munions, so will Adagio, and Glaive, if he builds a little bit of crit, will also destroy Munions. So I really think that Weapon Petal is the most likely option, and as you said, it's all down to how much practice Bren Esports have put on this Weapon Petal, because it's not a pick that you can just pick up and win games with. You have to practice positioning and timing of your trampoline, especially.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to come down to, whether and I do think it will be with you putting those thoughts out there on the Weapon Pedal and why it would work and why it wouldn't work, that it could be a good pickup, but we'll have to see here in the draft phase. They haven't revealed anything to us yet, so I think we'll have to wait for that first rotation onto the fold. It's always a bit of a surprise when you have those kind of heroes and you're really not sure which one is going to go for what. And you can imagine it this way. Infamous are also going to be unsure at this point.
Yeah, definitely. When you're drafting on B-side, not knowing what the enemy's going to play, it does make it an awful lot harder to try and counterpick, especially when they have something like a Black Feather Glaive combo. And you're like, well, they're probably going to go Weapon Glaive, but they might go Roam, they might go CP Black Feather, Weapon Black Feather. I just don't know. And it looks like it is going to well, again, we still don't know, because there's been Weapon Blades picked up on Crystal Skies before. In the previous game, we saw Crystal Sky build two Weapon Blades, but I don't think a Crystal Petal builds Weapon. So it's most likely we're going to see a Weapon Petal and a CP Sky. I do think this will be really, really nice to see. Sync 1 is clearly going to have to have practiced it, but he's got his A ability first and not the trampoline, which suggests he might be going Weapon, might be going Crystal. This is quite confusing. iQuest to Joel. We just got to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, well, Mr. Jim is the laner, I believe, for the side of Bren Esports, and considering a history of Sky, that lane Weapon Power Sky works out a lot better than CP, but we have seen recently a lot of CP Sky up in the lane, and here we're just going to see the two teams fight it out around the mid tree and probably put a bit of poke down. You can see Chingy already with that level 2 has the afterburn, and is going to be able to go in there and actually secure that mid tree, and so Infamous able to take that one away, and we can see they're just going to back now on both sides of the team. However, it looks like Spaghetti and SNK going to be the first to rotate, put a bit of pressure up on this lane, which I think is going to be so good. When you've got this Adagio pickup, he's just so good at putting that pressure down on the lane because he has so much sustain in his kit to stay up there.
Yeah, so it's now going to be a Weapon Crystal Power Sky. That means it will be Weapon Petal, and it looks like it will be a jungle weapon. Well, we've seen a little bit, not really a lot of jungle Weapon Petal, because she really excels once you've got Solar Blade and a first Tornado Trigger. After you get that, getting towards the second Tornado Trigger, you really do a lot of damage. See, Spaghetti taking a little bit of poke, but it's really not a lot. Sync 1 happy to force, he actually only forced to protect the contract, didn't even force Healing Flask out. And yeah, there's really not that much for the members of Infamous to worry about with this early game Weapon Petal. And she really has to get two, nearly 3 items before you really have to worry about that damage.
Yeah, and you see Infamous there just making sure that they get ahead in the jungle, a 3-man rotation down to that mid tree end to make sure they secure it. They're slowly going to start to take the lead, and if they manage to find a kill, which is quite possible with the CC setup they have here with the Afterburn and Pale coming out from Lance as well, if they can find just one kill to get ahead, and specifically if they could get onto Pedal, that really push them behind, and you might see Infamous being such a confident team that they start to go for those invades.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see a bit of aggression from Infamous, because late game it really is going to be Bren Esports that are going to come out ahead. They've got their Crystal Power Sky, Weapon Petal really ramps up in the late game, and Adagio, Crystal Power Adagio falls off. So does Weapon Glaive. It looks like he might be going Tension Bow first, so that will really fall off late game. And Bren really have to be really are in a better position. Now they're rotating up to lane. That's 3.
Yeah, and we see SNK going in with the Impale, but no follow-up there. Guessing not able to find the Holy Nova, just kind of scaring the enemy away at this point. But Chingy staying around in that brush, just weighing on, and you can see Spaghetti managing to keep this lane pushed up. It's going to give him a chance to go back to base by the items they need. We see that alternating current being picked up. 3 minutes 40 in for Spaghetti, looking very good at this point. 34 CS as well.
Yeah, farming extremely well. He's not stealing jungle away from Shingy. Shingy CS. This is just really good rotation to get ambient gold, and farming obviously fantastically in the lane by Spaghetti, and he's really controlling where the wave is when he wants it to be there. So he's pushing the wave at the right time. He's a bit quicker at rotating up to lane so he can secure the minions first. Now he's going to shop for a little bit more crystal power. Looks like he's going to go Broken Myth, second item, as we tend to see on Adagio. And yeah, you see Infamous just ever so slightly ahead. Minion candy used, they know they're going to fight.
SNK going in with the Impale. Chingy follows through with the Afterburn, but not able to find anything from it. Mr. Jim going low, however, has to use the potion. And you can see they've got the minion candy, zombies, minions, and just really focusing on this lane push here, trying to get all kinds of early aggression. And I think that's really where Infamous likes to play. They get that first turret, and then they just have so much freedom in their roaming, as we might see here as Infamous actually backing off into the enemy jungle. But Spaghetti stays around to pick up the first blood on Sky. He's going low himself again. And it looks like Guessing going to be able to pick up the kill with that Retribution. However, Glaive jumping up into the lane with Afterburn, going to get the return kill. So 2 for 1 in that situation. They also got the first blood, so not too bad for them. But you can see Guessing on the ready to take down Spaghetti there, who actually got caught up in the death from above. Yeah,
definitely. Spaghetti actually got double stunned by Mr. Jim's fantastic death from above before he fell, and then Guessing X easily able to pick up the kill with the Holy Nova. And Mr. Jim is actually being hyper farmed because Sync 1 is not getting these jungle camps. It's actually Mr. Jim securing the majority of them. They really are going for the full out, let's just farm up our CP Sky, and Weapon Petal's kind of going to be an afterthought, which is very interesting because Glaive's got a Sword Blade, Petal's now going to pick one up as well. But the Petal's really not going to be a problem in these fights. And as we saw, Mr. Jim gets caught out, could be in trouble.
Afterburn did come in, but there's going to be the Holy Nova and Death from above to push the enemy away. However, Mr. Jim needs to be careful here. One Impale could secure the kill onto them, and since C1 has rotated up to this lane here, they've got a return minion candies to try push back the enemy team. Infamous, who have been so aggressive this game so far, and we see it there as SNK goes in with the Impale, but there's the Holy Nova in return, and it looks like they're gonna just be able to hold off barely the side of Infamous right now, who have been so patient weighing up in this brush.
Yeah, they're definitely being... They're not going too aggressive. Glaive's afterburns from Shingy have been fantastic. Been diving under turret, trying to secure some kills. They've just been in a good position, and they're now trying to seize this turret. Infamous.
It looks like Guessing trying to do what they can, but it's not enough, and since C1 just not with the damage, as you mentioned before, 23 CS, it's not going to be enough to get the items you want in this early game. So they are relying heavily on Sky, who was actually forced to back previously, and in that case, Infamous, who had been seeing him wait, finally got the turret they were looking for. Now, what I was surprised with is Mr. Jim, if they're putting all this money into him, did go for the reflex block instead of going for more damage in this situation, and it's understandable with the CC coming out from the side of Infamous, but if you're gonna try and hyper carry Mr. Jim, I think it'd be more beneficial to just focus on the damage and just put your faith in Guessing to try peel and protect you.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's scared because Guessing X hasn't got a Crucible just yet, and so obviously the Versus Judgment is available. Afterburn, Impale, all of them need to be blocked if they focus on Mr. Jim. And so he's just like, you know what, I might as well buy my own reflex block. I'll still get the items just a little bit later. There is about a 2k gold lead for Infamous, and it could be a fight in jungle. It's just going to be a little bit of poke from the Afterburn from Shingy, but not too much. He did actually go Solar Blade first, and now Infamous could go for start up the gold mine, or they're going to go for a fight, and they're actually going to go straight for gold mine. Guessing X is there. There is no flare by SNK, and so this is very risky because Petal's going to jump in to try and secure this, and it's going to be stolen by who?
Oh, and Grace gets the steal in there. Verse of Judgment used as well, but look at Cincy1 going very low. Fountain was used, but it's not enough, and they clean up the backline of Bren Esports, and it's going to be left up to Mr. Jib to get away, not hand over the ace. Needs to stay alive for 5 more seconds, but there's going to be the afterburn onto them. Do they have the damage to follow through? Mr. Jim has the target lock on. Looks like Cincy1 just going to be able to make it up. And Mr. Jim might be able to even escape this one, dodging out the Impale from SNK. Can he get the punish? No, SNK gonna pop the potion and manage to back out that one, but Mr. Jim going very low in that exchange. And Infamous being able to take out 2 members and half the jungle from Bren Esports. Do you think that's a win for them, even though they lost the gold miner?
Well, no, I'd have to say that's a win for Bren Esports because they were 2k gold behind and about to lose the gold mine, which would take them another 1.5k further into deficit. And so by stealing the gold mine, they put themselves only 1k gold behind now. So they got much more gold than Infamous did. And obviously with Mr. Jim staying alive, that made it more than worth it. So if they'd have obviously lost the not secured the gold mine, it would have been a horrible trade. But they were able to just about pick that one up. And Sync1 really needs to get a Tornado Trigger before he's able to deal considerable damage on this weapon Petal. So he needs to get ambient backs with Mr. Jim if they are letting Mr. Jim take the jungle. He's only got 2 items, so despite the hyper farm, Mr. Jim is even on items, with Spaghetti. Because Spaghetti's farming really extremely well. He's almost up to the same farm number as Mr. Jim, despite Mr. Jim having some of the jungle taken away. So yeah, really well played by Spaghetti to get 2 items completed at the same time. And Mr. Jim didn't block the afterburn in the last fight. He was trying to run away, didn't block the afterburn, and so Shingy was in a great position to just kill him. He ended up blocking a little bit of damage, but that is a fighting game.
Ooh, and you see Guessing, even though being Bren Esports just not tanky enough right now, has to use Divine Intervention on themselves, and Infamous possibly looking for a second turret here, knowing that if Guessing jumps in to body block, they're more than likely going to fall. And it looks like they're going to keep the pressure up for just a second longer. You see Chingy rotating down below, trying to get an angle here to get that afterburn. Push someone out of position. They're just sitting in wait. Spaghetti taking a fair bit of damage, but there's going to be the afterburn onto Mr. Jim. They have the target lock. They're going to be able to dance around there. And Spaghetti now being targeted, going fairly low. But Guessing got caught in there. And you can see, once again, if Guessing gets out position in this situation, it's just Bren Esports don't have the damage there to back them up with the engage they need. And we see Chingy continuing the onslaught, the afterburn, Spaghetti picking up the kill there, and they're more than likely going to be able to take this turret, Cincy1 having to back out of the fight.
Easily going to be a tier 1 turret, tier 2 turret, and a gold mine. There's just not that much that Bren Esports can do at the moment. Guessing X was forced to use Divine Intervention on himself, as you said, and that's kind of a waste. You really don't want to be doing that on Grace. You want to be saving it, especially for Sky, as they're trying to farm up the Sky as much as possible. But actually, Infamous deciding the tier 2 turret is enough. They're not going to try and secure gold mine. They're just gonna back off and farm up the jungle, which will probably be quite full. Another important thing to note is that there were 2 infusions with Infamous. Only 1 was on Bren Esports or Mr. Jim himself. So that is one of the reasons why it was a reasonably easy fight for Infamous. Grace with an Atlas is a really good pickup because it counters both Spaghetti and Shingy. They both rely on attack speed. Spaghetti, of course, can use Verse of Judgment when he's Atlas, but generally that's not the best time for you to use it. So it's a really good pickup. Guessing X really needs to dive into the backline, secure that.
Cincy1 face check. Cincy1 is going to face check that. An intervention coming in. It's going to keep them alive just a bit longer, but it's not going to be enough. Adagio getting the kill with the burn, not even nearby. Still managed to pick that one up. That's just right now, Cincy1 with no defense, only seeing on that O-Cart, and it's just not working out for them. If you had a roamer like Arden, perhaps this kind of team comp can work. Otherwise, it would have to be that Bren had to take the early game and they had to play the aggressors. But when you're going up against Infamous, just a powerhouse of a team, they're so used to playing this game that, you know, this is their match to win if they're going to just the way they played it so far. We talked about Spaghetti doing so great on farm at this point. Even though Mr. Jim has been hyper farmed up to 142 CS, Spaghetti just sitting back at 120, still doing pretty well for himself, and now going to try catch up a bit with that because they can't obviously push too much into this lane. But Infamous, I think if we look at the gold lead, already 4k ahead. Meanwhile, we've got Bren Esports sitting at 26k. That just shows enough how comfortable Infamous are right now.
Yeah, I think that Sync 1, before that fight, didn't have an infusion. He actually picked up a weapon blade, which is just, if he'd have picked up an infusion instead, would have been so much better for him to be able to have a bit more defense and way more damage. But he wanted to work towards those tier 3s, and it did cost him. I think he definitely needed a bit more vision, but just not face-checking bushes when you're behind is generally a good idea. Because Guessing X had a flare, could have flared out them Stars Bush, but guessed, I guess, that Infamous weren't going to be there. Now, we're going to see a sentry rotation from Infamous, no question. Easily taking down the critical sentry. Nope, SNK manages to miss the impale on an immobile sentry. But Infamous still get the first sentry down 13 minutes in, and they're really just going to try and either force a fight or try and siege this tier 3 turret. In fact, they're going to take the jungle away.
Yep, they're just going to go in there. There's a flare as well, but they don't really care at this point. Infamous going to push on through, and you can see Chingy trying to get in a position once again for that afterburn, but flare has been used, and they're not going to stop the engage. I'm not sure what Bren Esports are doing here. There's going to be the death from above. They're trying to catch out Adagio, but Spaghetti going to be able to put down that versus Judgment, and it's actually going to be Cincy1 picking up a kill when Cincy1 isn't being checked. Apparently this weapon power Pell can put out a lot of damage, and they now have the man advantage. It's only SNK standing, and Bren Esports might actually be able to win this. There's death from above gets blocked out, but SNK trying to run for his life finally goes down to the sky. They managed to pick up the ace, 5 seconds left on Chingy for that spawn, but they should be able to pick up a gold mine and a turret, I believe. They had the aced up minion wave there, and I'm actually surprised Bren Esports winning out that fight. So how do you see the factors that went into play there for them to win that one minion?
Bren Esports managed this around because obviously they were losing almost all of the fights up to now, and perhaps we're just seeing the weapon Petal become a powerhouse in its own right. Before, Petal was kind of an afterthought. You didn't really have to worry about her damage at all. You could just tank it up, kill Mr. Jim, and then Sync 1 was just waiting to die. But now you have to worry about that Petal, and Infamous wants to fight regardless. All Crucible wasted.
Yeah, it looks like they have a bit of confidence now after that previous fight, and Bren Esports are going to retaliate to this one, and you can see Infamous backing off to shops first. I mean, they're fully infused. Chingy could buy a new infusion if they want to, but I think they're going to be able to let that one sit out. They're probably looking to finish off their defense into tier 3 defense at this point. And yeah, both teams kind of maybe a bit more respectful of each other, at least on Infamous side. They're not going to go so wildly deep into the enemy jungle at this point, but I still think that Bren Esports, as mentioned before, need to be careful about entering bushes. They need to make sure it's flared and have that vision there, because we do see Infamous sitting down and wait. They managed to get onto Guessing, and Guessing going solo at the start of this fight. It looks like they're going to use Divine Intervention on themselves again. There's going to be versus Judgment, but doesn't actually catch anyone out. They're all on the edge of that one. They're going to be trying to run away. There's the second Divine Intervention thanks to the Echo, but Mr. Jim gets cleaved down and is going to be the first to fall, followed up by Petal. Infamous having none of it. They're coming back with a vengeance, and it's only Guessing left to defend this turret, but they're not even worried about the turret at this point. Kraken is already up on the fob, and they're not taking any chances.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Infamous much better in that team fight. They managed to catch out Guessing X with a great afterburn, forcing him to basically use Fountain and the first Divine Intervention just on himself, with no real help for Mr. Jim or for Sync 1. And so then there was a second Divine Intervention for the Petal, but it really didn't do that much and wasn't that useful. So it was kind of a wasted ultimates from Grace, and Mr. Jim didn't receive any help. Now Infamous looking for another fight, but they probably should wait for their Kraken. They're going to try and get as much damage on the tower as they can, but as they're not able to take it down, Kraken's still going to be taking the explosion damage, so they might as well just wait for Kraken and push in with it. Infusions on all 6 members on the fold, and Fountain's up in a couple of seconds, so a fight could be breaking out around this Kraken.
Yeah, more than likely we're going to happen here as pushes onto this turret, there's going to be the depth from above as a zoning factor to just keep Infamous away for a second. It's on a 10-second cooldown here, so they're going to have it up soon. But Mr. Jim already under half health, half energy, I mean. And now it looks like Infamous, once that Kraken is through the choke point, they're ready to go in. Mr. Jim actually managed to block that. There's the Divine Intervention to follow and keep him alive, but they have to go back for the energy. And this Kraken looking fairly low. It looks like they should be able to get out of this one with at least one turret alive, if not two. If they have the damage here, we'll have to see if they can pull through. But no, Kraken gonna be taking one of those. No damage out to the last remaining turret, however, but you need to worry when going up against this Glaive and this Lance who can wall jump. We may see a potential backdoor. Or do you think Infamous don't have the strength to do that if they're not full team comp? Because I think they have the damage there on Chingy to burst the turret down.
I think with SNK, I think Shingy can do it, but alone, I don't think Shingy has quite got that. What are Bren doing? Are they out of position?
Well, looks like SNK going to go in there, miss the Giphian wall, and just soak up a bunch of damage. Forced to use the Fountain of Renewal to save himself, and it's now Infamous on the run. If Bren Esports are looking for a fight, it has to be now, but Guessing is going to go low in return. They gained so much damage onto SNK, they could turn this one around, but they do need to be cautious, however, so Bren Esports instead going to go up to this lane and keep it pushed up. They might even try push it all the way into the turret for a return here, but I'm not sure if Guessing actually going to go back at that point. You can see right now the vision game being very strong on the side of Infamous, so it's no surprise that Guessing going to go back by a few flares, have to clear out that mid area of the map, especially for when the next Kraken comes up in probably about 30 seconds.
Yeah, Spaghetti is completely fully built at the moment. Got tier 3 boots, 4 damage items, and Aegis. So that's really helpful for the Adagio to be able to still be considerable damage late game because he's got 4 damage items, but won't get bursted down by the Sky that quickly. Speaking of Sky, Mr. Jim is in a bad position, but he's going to block. He'll be fine. Luckily, that could have been bad for Mr. Jim, but he had to use boots and Aegis. That won't be up for the next team fight if the Infamous decide to fight soon.
Yeah, but what is up now is the Kraken returning back to the fold once again. And you can see Infamous, they might not even care about this one. They might just go, well, if we win one team fight, we can win it out. If they get Kraken, you know, they probably won't be able to push the whole way to endgame. So Infamous being confident here. You see SNK up in the front line, going in with Impale. It does miss, but the Giphian wall hits, gets the stun off on Sky, but they're soaking up too much damage. Meanwhile, it's actually going to be Guessing to be the first one to fall, and Infamous now going to be able to turn this fight around, more than likely, or they're going to back off, and now they know that the side of Bren have no roamer. They could go for the Kraken, or no, Infamous. They know that Bren are just going to face check, or they could go in themselves with Engage. I think they caught Mr. Jim recall. Did they not? They didn't see it. It must have just been right around out of that vision, but now Infamous going to go for the Kraken, more than likely just to have that safety net there, secure the win.
I think it was actually the fact that they were behind the wall. That was because the bush goes slightly past the wall, and they were all waiting behind that wall. And maybe they couldn't see Mr. Jim because he was.
And Esports have to do something now. And Pedal gets the steal, and there's going to be Infamous trying to rush them down, trying to get something in return, but they're like, no, we won't be able to catch Cincy1 or Mr. Jim, who picks up the lance. They're too mobile for us. We have to burn down this Kraken, but Guessing joining back into the party. There's Divine Intervention on Cincy1, and they're going to follow down Spaghetti, who got separated from the team. They might be able to find the kill here, but Crystal Sentry there as well. And there's going to be the second Divine Intervention going on to Mr. Jim. Chingy so low. What has Infamous done? Giving away the ace over to Bren Esports. And I said if Bren Esports get a Kraken, they might not be able to finish it, but if they get a Kraken and a delayed ace, they might be able to do just that as they're already pushing onto the anchor turret. They take it down. They have a few aced up minions. I'm not sure if they matter too much, but hey, all the help you can get is gonna help. And now SNK going in, trying to save the base here. Kraken only half health, and they've got one turret remaining. All of Bren Esports up, but Spaghetti returning to the fold. Chingy not quite there. It's gonna make it, but look at this Kraken. They managed to get the pedal. They're chasing down Mr. Jim, who's trying to dance around them as much as he can. He got enough damage onto the crystal, and there's gonna be Guessing finishing it off with the last hit, and Bren Esports turning that one around at the last minute, getting the game for the first round between them and Infamous. GG, well played.
Bren Esports with the Kraken steal, push to win. That was just fantastic play from them. Really surprising, actually, that they managed to turn that around, because it looked like Infamous were just ahead. They got one kill, like, easy. Just rotate to Kraken, take that, push to win the game. They've only got one Bane Crystal turret left. But what Infamous did was they ended